Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. I'm going to say quick good morning to Dan Cullen, who was here very, very early doors. In fact, he was here 9 minutes before we were due to start. I'm going to say good morning to Jim Turner, who arrived at the appropriate time, precisely 10 a.m. Morning, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Yeah, have you seen the results posted by house builder Barrett's this morning? Let's have a look. I'm going to go to the right page so I can tell you exactly what it says. There you are. Barrett's profits dropped by 3/4 amid fresh building safety costs and market slowdown. Apparently, they completed 19% less houses last year, and they are expected to fall further this year. And the thing goes on to say, Barrett's has reported a 75% drop in its statutory pre-tax profit and a fall in completions. Britain's largest house builder reported a pre-tax profit of 170.5 million in its financial results for the year to the 30th of June, compared to 705 million in the previous year. So 705 million down to 170 million. When adjusted for one-off costs, profit fell from 884 million to 385 million, while its overall turnover fell 22% from 5.3 to 4.2 billion pounds. Obviously not good news for the fine folks at Barrett's, but also wider implications. Those of you that used to watch this show when we had Neil Edwards here from the Builders Conference, obviously over the past 4 or 5 years, the house building sector has largely propped up the UK construction industry. And if the likes of Barrett's are struggling, what does that say for the rest of the industry? I think we'll know exactly what it says for the rest of the industry. But there you are. That's hot off the press from Building Magazine this morning. If you'd like to read the full thing, you can go over to the Building Magazine whenever you're ready. Just so you know as well, one other thing that I need to mention before we actually kickstart the show, the findings of the investigation into the Grenfell disaster are scheduled to be published at 11 a.m. today. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the news feed, and if we're still on air when that drops, I'll do my best to bring you the details. Failing that, could well be a discussion point for tomorrow. Speaking of discussion points, I can tell you our after show discussion today is all about the law of unintended consequences, which will make complete sense when we get there, probably. So without further ado, how about we roll the intro and get this show on the road? Just need to find the intro, basically. It looks like this. I'm going to go over to the chat because we've had a flurry of activity. Here we are. Ken Hatcher, good morning. He's got, looks like rain and cloud, which is pretty much a summer's day in Wales, I would have thought. Footy's here as well. Good morning. I hope everyone's okay. Had no work for the last 2 weeks. All the agencies have gone quiet. This isn't good, but don't get anything soon. I'm out of money. Yeah, not good at all. And, results like that from the fine folks at Barrett's is not going to be good at all. Ken Hatcher saying it's down. Not sure. Gary Muirhead, good morning. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Live from the airport, the only place to have a Burger King at 10 a.m. What is it about international travel? My wife, we can get to the airport at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Glass of wine. I've done it. Back when I was a drinker, going on. I remember going once to watch the World Cup in France, supporting the mighty England because they were mighty back then. Stansted Airport, 6 o'clock in the morning, pint of Guinness. Whoever said that was a good idea? Seemed like it at the time. Dan Cullen says, how are we all doing? Oh, well, I'm doing very, very well indeed here. It doesn't sound good, says Ken Hatch. No, it really doesn't. Mark Whiting and Alex Latham have just joined us as well. Jim Turner, offering some explanation, says, could mean this is Barrett's, obviously, could mean they bought a lot of land in expectation of Labour getting in power and you're upping the speed of house building. More outlay than they normally have because of the expected land price rises. Could well be. Could well be. And Chris Ford has just joined us. Good morning, Skins, he says. Footy says, if I run out of money, I've got to sleep out in the cold with my two little dogs. Footy, keep going, mate. Keep going. That's all I can say. Who got the demolition job in Cardiff? Old tax office. Apparently, big cat machine there. Don't know. Haven't heard on that one. Haven't heard that one at all. And there's my other half wishing bon voyage to Mr. Muirhead and his family. Yeah, have a safe travels, Gary. I look forward to seeing you back. Well, that's not true. You've been ever present even while you've been away, and I'm sure you don't particularly want to come back, but welcome back when you finally get here. Yeah, it is that time, isn't it? It's both Mystery Machine and Excavator World Cup time. So Mystery Machine first up. Gary Muirhead says the only house building this year will be social housing. I think you could be right. Speaking to somebody yesterday who said he was in a meeting. This is very much sort of third-hand information, but he was in a meeting. One of the subjects came up about this plan for Labour to build 1.5 million new homes over the next, whatever it is, 5-10 years. All of which sounds absolutely grand, and we do need the additional housing. But somebody in this meeting pointed out the fact that one of the reasons that we've now got sewage spilling into our rivers is because our sewage works cannot cope with current demand. What happens if we plumb another 1.5 million houses into an already overflowing sewage system? What happens then? Dan Cullen says, Era has that job, Ken. DSM high reach on there. Is that the big one? Is that the very, very big one? I can't remember what model it was based on, but I know they've got a 70-meter machine up at DSM. Dan Cullen, cat machine. DSM certainly do run at least one cat, possibly more than that. So yeah, could well be. Now, I've said mystery machine. This is what you have to work with today. We're going to be looking very much for specifics. The model itself is very, very specific. It's a brand that you'll know, but most of you love and all that sort of thing. But I need a specific model number on this one. So see what you can come up with that. Jim Turner says Barrett usually have 5 years worth of building land and permission in front of them. With houses built per year goes up, then the outlay of land and the cost of getting permission goes up too, all before seeing any profit. Could well be. Could well be. Dan Cullen says, yes, Ken, big cat, think it's the 70-meter. Yeah, we've shared that with you before. I may resurrect that because it's been a while since we shared it. Does that mean 1.5 million people aren't going to the loo? No, what it means is 1.5 million people will still go to the loo, only rather than ending up in the sewage treatment works, it will end up in the Thames. I think I used to swim in the Thames. Yeah. Not sure I want to do that now. Not sure I want to do that now. So we've got our mystery machine. Mark Whiting has taken a wild stab at a Hydreamer 922. It is not a Hydreamer 922. I'm going to take that away just temporarily because we do need to bring you the Excavator World Cup because it's getting interesting in the Excavator World Cup. I'll show you today's match in just a moment, but we are now down to the last 8 in our Excavator World Cup. And I have to say, some of it was entirely predictable. Other bits I didn't see coming at all. Now, I realised that the draw, you'll recall that was done at random, so I had no control over it, but it's had a major impact, I think, on the outcome so far. I can tell you the last 8 are JCB, Volvo, Kobelco, Hydromec, Caterpillar, Komatsu, Atlas, and Kubota. Now, I fully expected the likes of Cat, Volvo, Kobelco, and Komatsu to be in the running. No great surprise there as well. But Liebherr, Hitachi, Devellon, Hyundai have all fallen by the wayside. and yet we still have the likes of Kubota and Atlas. I'm fans of both brands, but I think I wouldn't have predicted them still to be here. Anyway, today's match is a real battle for the ages, as it sees JCB of the UK going head to head with the Swedish titan that is Volvo. That's what you've got to choose from. It's JCB or Volvo today, people. I've just granted you £150,000 in Monopoly money. You have to invest it in one or more excavators, and the only choices you have are Volvo or JCB. How are you spending your imaginary money? That's what we'd like to know. I'm going to pop back over to the chat. Immediately split down the middle. Gary Muirhead going for Volvo. Ken Hatcher going for JCB. Going back to our mystery machine. Dan Cullen reckons it could be a Bomag roller. It is not. Gary Muirhead reckons it could be a Bomag BW219DH-5. It's not one of those. Jim Turner, however, says a Cat roller. You're in the ballpark, my friend. You are in the ballpark. It needs to be very, very specific today, and so keep those coming in. Footy says, not sure if I want to go swimming in any river or sea at the moment. They're pumping sewage out even down here, and the local sea, it's terrible, stinks all the time. I'm sure it does. Excuse me. I can tell you, where are we? We are 2 each so far. Ken Hatcher on our Excavator World Cup went JCB. Gary went Volvo. Dan Cullen went JCB. Footy went Volvo. And then we're going back to the mystery machine where Dan Cullen has said, is it a Cat CB4.0? It is not. It is not. Keep those guesses coming in. Keep the votes coming in as well. Mostly Diggers. Garvin, good morning over on Instagram. What would be your preference, my friend? Oh, excuse me. Volvo or JCB? That's what we're deciding today. And yeah, whoever wins today, semi-final. So keep those coming in as well. I'm going to take that away for just a moment because we've got lots of news to share. Be back after this. I can tell you, Garvin has just voted for Volvo. So it is very much 3-2 to the mighty Volvo as it stands at the moment. Ken Hatcher is going for our mystery machine, which looks like that. He reckons it could be a Cat CS20. It is not one of those. Keep those coming in as well. I'm going to take that away. Now, I've just told you that the last 8 in our Excavator World Cup are Caterpillar, Volvo, Kobelco. No, let me do the list again. JCB, Volvo, Kobelco, Hydromec, Komatsu, Caterpillar, Atlas, and Kubota. XCMG went out in an earlier round. However, that hasn't stopped them from introducing lots and lots of new excavators recently, including this one. I have a funny feeling the Chinese or XMG have just got a car park entirely set aside for launching machines like that. I can tell you, mystery machine. I'm going to show you a bit more of the mystery machine in just a moment. But what have we got? That was Dan Cullen's last guess. Gary Muirhead reckons it could be a Sany SSR 80C-8H. That's one to remember, and I'll come back to that in just a moment. Jim Turner, I'll do it now. Jim Turner says rollers aren't interesting enough to remember the numbers. That's as close as I'll get. I'd say between 10 and 15 tons. could well be right. Chris Ford is going for a JCB 611D roller. It is none of those things. So let me show you a smidgen more. In fact, I'll double up. There you are. That's what you're working with. Anyone got any clues on that? I can tell you that both Dan Cullen and Ken Hatcher are very much in the right ballpark, but I need very, very specific model numbers today, if you would be so kind. Come back to that in just a moment. I'll come back to everything in just a moment after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Now, it's not often we get the chance to compare apples with apples on this show. Obviously, we'll feature an Excavator one day, a Dozer the next. By some sheer coincidence, both Case and Bell have both unveiled new graders. I've got both films here. Now, size-wise, they're different, but I'd like you to compare and contrast. We're going to start with the smaller ones. We'll start with the Case, and then we'll hop over to Bell. I'm not going to ask you to decide whether you're hot or not, but if you were investing in a grader, are you going to go Case or are you going to go Bell? Decide after you've seen the two films.
Hello everybody, my name is Ralf Schützer. I'm the product marketing manager for Grader, and I'm standing in front of our new D-Series Grader 836D all-wheel drive. For those of you saying, but Ralf, this machine looks the same as a C-Series, I can say yes, you're right, because we would never touch something that had been so awesome over the last decade. The outside remains the same, and there is another awesome part that remains the same. It is our well-known high-efficiency SCR Stage 5 FPT engine. With variable horsepower, no EGR, and the SCR and filter, it delivers high power, max efficiency, and less emission for a greener planet. And together, with a hydrostatic front-wheel drive, there's even more power to do your work. Of course, there is no need to mention our front blade with the depth indicator and the 5T's rear ripper, as they are on board now for a very long time. Okay, some of you will now say, but Ralf, you said new D-Series, but you didn't show us something new. Well, you're right, but do you know the phrase, is the inner values that count? Then let me show you now the exciting news and why it was worth to call our new grader D-Series. But for that, we need to get inside the cabin.
And we'll come back to that just as soon as they release the film. Now, lots of chat going on. I can tell nobody's got the right answer on the mystery machine. We'll come back to that in a moment. But keep that Case machine fresh in your mind, because here is the Bell alternative. So, which do you prefer, Bell or Case? I'll leave it up to you. I'm going to say good morning to Michael Williams, who's just joined us over on Instagram. Good morning to you as well, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for being here. I'm going to go through the answers, or the guesses, I should say. Chris Ford left us with the JCB 611D roller. It's not one of those. Footy reckons it could be a Cat dozer. It's not. Right brand, wrong type of machine. Chris Ford reckons it could be a Bomag BW212DH. It is not. And then we kind of get into, I'm going to do a football analogy right here. Dan Cullen managed to hit both posts before ultimately scoring a goal. Okay, so he went for the Cat CS12 GC. It is not. It's close, but it's not. He then went for the Cat CS10 GC Tier 4. Not one of those either. He went for a Cat CS11 GC Tier 4. Nope. He went for the Cat CP13 GC. It is not one of those either. As I say, he went all around the houses, and then he came up with that. The Cat CP12 GC, which is precisely what it is. There you are. Padfoot compactor from Caterpillar. CP12 GC. Dan Cullen, I've already put your name down for the 3 points. You and I in the September head-to-head. You and I are head-to-head ourselves. 3 points each. Congratulations, Dan. Well done. Are you enjoying your Bobcat T-shirt? Have you received your Bobcat T-shirt? Any of those things. We'll come back to all of that. We're coming back in a second with something a bit unusual, bit special. It comes from Sani. I'll be right back after this. If you've been watching this show for any length of time, you'll know that I regularly bang on about the potential benefits of autonomous machines. Realise they have their disadvantages, particularly for employment, but I do think they have their advantages. Anyway, I received a message yesterday from Giles White, the road machinery expert over at Sany UK, and he sent me a video. It's a video of some autonomous Sany compactors working on a dam in China. And I think once you've seen this, that's exactly what you'll say. Damn. Hey, Dan Cullen says, looks a damn tidy rock. Well done, Dan. It does look down. I have to say, you know, I'm sure the health and safety police over here would have had a fit for somebody standing in front of a machine to test its ability to brake, having detected a human. Shows how it works. And what a perfect opportunity to actually try out that kind of thing. A dam, middle of nowhere, huge site. go and knock off the rough edges. I'm assuming there aren't many rough edges because it's Sany, and Sany do what they do very, very well. Very, very impressed with that, I have to say. Incidentally, and maybe that is the side door in which autonomy will creep. In the mining equipment industry, the mining trucks obviously have been autonomous for more than a decade, 15, 20 years possibly. Not so much in construction, but I wonder if compaction might be the way in. Certainly when I spoke to one of the main engineers at XCMG back at Balmer, last Balmer, I think it was, and they were talking about the fact that they have paving fleets, and the paver itself is the hub of the autonomy, and it basically tells all the compactors behind it what to do, where to go, and everything else. Maybe compaction is the entry. I wonder. Dan Cullen says, makes you wonder how they make it in China with so many brands competing, hundreds of brands there compared to here. Yeah. Having said that, what is there? 1.1 billion people in China, and if you've ever looked at China on a map, it's quite big. It really is quite big, and also they are. It's kind. You remember the map at the beginning of Dad's Army, where the swastika gradually worked its way across Europe. That's kind of the Chinese thing. Chinese machines, XCMG, Sany, Sunward, have made great inroads into places like Africa, and they're gradually edging towards the UK. Obviously, Sany are here in some force. Giles White obviously is the main man on all things road machinery, but they are making inroads. People, make no mistake about it, and rightly so. I think the machines look very, very good indeed. And Dan Cullen says, I'm chatting to Giles. I'm getting organised for a day at Sany near you. Keep me posted on that one, Dan. I wouldn't mind a day at Sany either. So yeah, keep me posted. Having said that, I mean, I'd like to do it close to home, but if Sany wants to take me to China, go and have a close look, I'd be happy to. My passport is in date. I got my visa through yesterday for my trip to to Mine Expo last night. So that's all hunky dory. So yeah, my passport is all in order. So Sany people, love to go to China. Will do, Mark. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. What do we have next? Oh, I know, we've got a bit of breaking coming up. It'll be right after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
When you're on a diet, you tend to think about nothing but food. Even while you're eating food, you're thinking about the next meal. And I've just been joined over on Instagram by somebody who goes by the name of The Perfect Sandwich. Oh, incidentally, no, nothing to do with the show. It's just, what is the perfect sandwich? Personally, I'm going to throw my weight behind the cheese and Branston. Listen, I love me a pastrami on rye. I love a ham and mustard. I love a coronation chicken. But when push comes to shove, the perfect sandwich, cheese and Branston. Don't know if anybody can hear me. We just had a power out. Lights, everything went. By apologies. No idea what happened there. If somebody can let me know you can hear me, that would be useful, because I'm not entirely sure. Let's have a look. Chris Ford says egg and black pepper for the perfect sandwich. Good call. Has Mark gone on strike? It's tempting, but no, it was a power outage. Dan Cullen can still see me on YouTube. I bet that didn't last long. Chris Ford going for a sweet sandwich, banana with a sprinkle of sugar. Footy, has it frozen? Yes, it did. Is it gremlins in the system? I don't know what it was. Lights flashed. My main light here for the camera, lights behind me, lights above, everything just went out. No idea what happened there. I can hear you. Good. Footy says I have no screen at all. Not even Mark Anthony's on the screen. Yeah, the gremlins had moved in. What happened? I don't know whether it was a power surge or a power outage. The problem is it turned the camera off, but the camera came on within seconds. But it also killed the internet connection, which took a good few minutes to resurrect. So my apologies. Don't blame me. Blame Eon Power for that. I promised I'd be back to you with some breaking action. I've got some breaking action because I do want to get to the results of today's Excavator World Cup, but we're doing that after this. Nothing like a bit of breaking action when your show's just gone completely to tits. There you are. We had a very Chris Ford, but you could say that. I couldn't possibly comment. You can't beat a big pecker. Wouldn't know. We had a last-minute vote from Mark Whiting in our competition between Volvo and JCB. Is it enough? Is it enough? I'll tell you. The latest round of our Excavator World Cup competition pitted JCB against Volvo, but which brand came out on top? Well, we put it to the public vote, and I can tell you that the winner is... it's Volvo. Very, very close, but it's Volvo. Volvo goes forward to the second, or to the next round, should I say, and sadly, JCB, great British brand that they are, leaves us empty-handed. Tomorrow's match is another titanic struggle because it will see Kobelco taking on Hydromek. So yes, Kobelco. Japanese, yeah, I think Japanese versus the Turks. So sushi or kebab, take your pick. Make sure you tune in to take part. I am going to roll our last minute end of show. When the show goes down, it throws off my flow. Hoping that won't matter when I get to my morning monologue in just a second. If you can't stick around, do please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very, very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I will be back with my morning monologue shortly after this. Every action in nature has an equal and opposite reaction. Sir Isaac Newton's third law of motion is a principle so fundamental to our understanding of physics that even those who know squat about physics have probably heard of it. Yet this law isn't confined to the realm of physical interactions between objects. It transcends the boundaries of science and touches the very fabric of human behaviour. In a world teeming with complexity where every decision is a delicate thread in the intricate web of society, this law becomes not just a principle of physics, but a profound reflection on the cause and effect that governs human life. Consider, if you will, the role of law enforcement in society. It's often said that a well-policed community is a safer one. But what happens when the patrols are reduced? The immediate assumption might be that the community will self-regulate, that people will inherently choose order over chaos. But Newton's third law tells us something entirely different. In the absence of a deterrent, crime doesn't merely remain static, it escalates. Just as the force of an object creates an equal and opposite reaction, the reduction in police presence invites an increase in criminal activity. It's not a matter of choice, but of balance. Without the visible presence of law enforcement, those who are inclined towards crime feel emboldened, unrestrained by the fear of immediate consequence. The reaction is as natural and inevitable as the law itself. This same principle can be observed in the world of industry, or more specifically in the field of industry training. At their best, competence cards should serve as a safeguard, ensuring only those with the requisite skills can engage in specific trades. But what happens when those cards become prohibitively expensive or difficult to obtain? Here again, we see Newton's third law in action. The harder it becomes to attain something through legitimate means, the more enticing the illegitimate avenues appear. Criminal gangs, always alert to an opportunity, step into the void, offering spurious cards to those desperate to work. The reaction to making competence cards more exclusive isn't simply a reduction in unqualified workers. It's the creation of a black market, a surge in fraudulent activities that undermines the very purpose of the cards in the first place. The equal and opposite reaction to tightening controls is the rise of those who would circumvent them. This law of unintended consequences applies not only to systems and structures, but also to human emotions and social dynamics. Take, for instance, the issue of migrant workers. These individuals often left their homes, their families, and everything they know in search of better opportunities, driven by the hope of a better life. Yet, regardless of your personal views upon it, Brexit resulted in many of those workers feeling unwelcome. Amidst an atmosphere of hostility and exclusion, many migrant workers chose to return home to their country of origin, making an already severe construction skill shortage significantly worse. Similarly, in the realm of environmental policy, we see Newton's third law manifest in troubling ways. Think about waste disposal. Proper disposal of waste is a cornerstone of public health and environmental protection. Yet, as governments and local councils struggle with budget constraints, the cost of waste disposal continues to rise. The intention behind that might be to cover the increasing costs of waste management or to encourage recycling. But the unintended consequence, the equal and opposite reaction, is a rise in fly tipping. When legitimate disposal becomes too costly, individuals and businesses seek cheaper, illicit alternatives. They dump their waste in forests, by roadsides, or in rivers, polluting the environment and creating health hazards that are far more costly to address. The reaction to increased costs is not always in compliance. It's often rebellion, manifested in ways that further harm society. In all these ways, in all these scenarios, Newton's third law serves as a reminder that human behavior is as predictable as any physical reactions. The actions we take, the policies we enact, and the social norms we uphold all have consequences, some intended, some not. We can't expect to change one part of the system without affecting the whole. When we reduce police patrols, we invite crime. When we make competence cards more difficult to obtain, we create a market for fraud. When we alienate migrant workers, we lose the benefits of their labour. And when we raise the cost of waste disposal, we see an increase in illegal dumping. The equal and opposite reaction in these cases is not just a consequence of human nature, and it's an expression of the same law that governs the physical world. It tells us that every decision we make, there will be, let me do that again. It tells us that for every decision we make, there will be a response. And that response will be as forceful as the action that triggered it. In the end, Newton's third law is not just a law of physics, it's a law of life. And we ignore it at our peril. There you are. That's what I have to say today. Let's see what the chat is saying. No, what can't support local, darn it. Don't know what that means. Don't know what that means at all. Dan, if you would care to clarify that, I'd love to know what you're talking about. The thing that triggered that monologue, rant, call it what you will, was waste. Because the demolition industry is as good at recycling as it is, the industry pays very close attention. I mean, I think it always has worked very, very closely with the waste sector. Waste over here, demolition over here, and sometimes the twain shall meet. It's so predictable that if you see a rise in landfill costs or a rise in waste disposal costs, there will, without fail, there will be an equal rise in the levels of fly tipping every single time. It's not just private individuals. It's not just local criminals. It is everybody. Everybody does the same. Love a monologue. Don't poke that line with a stick, Albert. I feel like I should know that. But I don't know what that means. I'm racking my brain. So yeah, going back, I realise this is not cause and effect because we had no control over the cause. But think about during COVID, when not just the sites around the country were locked down, when the entire country was locked down, what happened? There was an increase in plant theft because there was very little chance of criminal gangs being discovered. You know, everybody was tucked away safely at home. Probably the police force were largely at home as well, and therefore things like that happened. When we've seen an increase in the cost of fuel, what happens next? There's an equal increase in the theft of fuel. It's the same time and time and time again, and it kind of plays back to the point that I made earlier. As I say, I've only got this information third hand, but I was told by a friend of mine. He reckons that basically, when Labour announced the fact they were planning to build 1.5 million new homes over the next decade or so, I think we all looked at it and went, well, hang on a minute, we're not actually hitting housing targets now, let alone without adding another 1.5 million. How are we going to do it, particularly from a skills point of view? That was always our concern. But yeah, that's a good point. What happens to our sewage system? I mean, you can extrapolate that out. Where are there going to be enough schools? Are there going to be enough hospitals? Are there going to be sufficient roads? Are there going to be sufficient rail lines to serve all of these new communities and everything else? But sewage, we've already got a situation which we touched on yesterday. We've got millions of tons of raw sewage basically leaching into our waterways because our sewage system is insufficient for current demand. If we then throw another 1.5 million people at it, what happens then? JCB versus Volvo. I see. No local support. Okay, but I take your point, Dan. And yeah, listen, I'm a JCB fan myself. I'm off to JCB in October, I think. And yes, I would love to have seen them in the final. But if you're going to lose to somebody if you're going to lose to somebody, losing to Volvo, there's no shame in that, I wouldn't say. Was that Joyce Grenfell, Chris? Chris, are you paying attention? I'd like to know. Housing up all the time, but how many times do they actually put a new sewage works up? Never. Yeah, there's a weird thing. There is a weird thing because sewage works, like recycling yards and stuff, it is, you have, what do they call it? NIMBYism. Not in my backyard, thank you very much. Nobody wants a sewage works near their house. But surely with some of the plans, you know, we're planning to build on a former London Underground car park is one instance. Would that not be a good idea to put the sewage works in place before the houses arrive, and then you don't get the NIMBYism? You know, when you're talking about brownfield sites, sewage works there, is that really a big deal? Because frankly, you know, we all use the loo, and if you don't, you've probably got a bit of an issue. Chris Ford explains, don't poke that line with a stick, Albert. Apparently it's from The Lion and Albert by Marriott Edgar. Yeah, I don't know that one. Don't know that at all. I may have to look that up. May learn something. I've only recently started doing monologues, although I think we're 40 plus now. And I call them a monologue. I call them a monologue because there's just one person delivering it. But by and large, it's just me bitching and moaning on a weekday morning. I was hoping to eke out today's show long enough to get the Grenfell results, which are due in about where are we? About 8 minutes. So we may hang on. If you're old enough to remember Junior Choice, it was a regular Junior Choice. I'm not old enough to remember Junior Choice. No, was that TV or was that radio? Feel like I should know that as well. Didn't sleep well last night, have to say. Had a bit of a disturbed night's sleep. Feeling much better this morning, but so yeah, maybe my brain's not in gear, and maybe the Lion and Albert might make more sense to me when I actually see it. Yes, don't think I can hang this show out, despite the fact that the whole thing collapsed around my ears half an hour ago. I don't think I can hang it out any longer. So I think we'll see what the findings are from Grenfell tomorrow. If there's anything absolutely remarkable, I may well fire up the live stream again in half an hour when I've had a chance to consume them. Failing that, I'll be back tomorrow for more of the same. And hopefully we'll have some surge protection in place then. Thought I watched a monologue like that done by Joyce Grenfell. I'll look it up later. I'm going to take a look at that myself. I need to study monologues. I'm not sure my delivery is great. I mean, I'm cursed with a South London accent, which doesn't help. But I do wonder if I emote quite enough. I don't want to come across all Shakespearean, but I do wonder. Make sure you have a good day, sleep well. Yeah, okay. You'd not been to Ilson. I know. Ilson in your dreams. No, indeed. I'm at the doctor's on Friday for my latest diabetes check. Last time I was there, they upped my doses of potions and lotions and whatever. I was weighing too much. Blood pressure was up, blood sugar was up, and everything else. They're in for a very pleasant surprise on Friday. Yeah, £10 down. Blood sugar well within acceptable range. Blood pressure exactly where it should be. They will think I've sent a substitute. At least I hope so, because I don't want to be on as many tablets as I'm on. That's enough of my private babble. I'll be back tomorrow, as I say, with surge protection in place to hopefully keep the whole thing running for an entire show. Till then, everybody have a good day and look out for those Grenfell findings, which are due in a few minutes. I'll see you very, very soon. All the best.